Hi, welcome to Painting with Shawna on Thursdays. So today we're still working on the owl. It's the very last hour that we're going to spend together for that. But I also wanted to share with you that my auction for this sweet little 8 by 8 inch ends on Monday at 11 a.m. on eBay. You can find the information on Facebook. I don't have it on YouTube, and I will put it underneath here with the link for the auction. After our hour is done, I will do that right away. And it's, it's going well. The other thing I have happening this week is that I am teaching a watercolor class, and I'm teaching it on a blue jay. Anyway, it's the very first blue jay I've done. It's not near finished. I'm still working on it. That's what happens when you do something. You make a quick decision to do something. It gets you, right to the end, right to the deadline. But I will have this. I will put a picture of it when I'm finished up on Facebook so you can see it. If you're watching on Facebook or you're watching on YouTube, make sure you click the subscribe and the like button and the follow me button, and let's get going. So you can see that I got a fair amount done last week. I finalized this area, got the eyes, even so that I'm even happier with them. And today's focus is going to be creating these eyebrows and working on sort of this area with the mustaches. They all look glorious in the spring. I'm not sure what great gray owl mustaches look like any other time of year. Never really paid attention. Don't see them very often other times of the year. Okay, let's get going here. I'll grab my brushes and my paint. Spritz it down to keep it moist. And what I'm starting with, oh yeah, that's what I'm looking for. I'm going to use this Scepter Gold #1 liner. It's a nice shape and it's got some strength to it, which I'm finding I'm needing when I'm working on the mustaches. We're going to actually start with here. Okay, I think that's a good value. I just was checking it out and seeing. And I'm looking back and forth. That one's a little bit too wide. Go back to my mini detailer, Princeton mini detailer. That one's a And yeah, that's the shapes I want, tinier shapes. And I'm looking back and forth. And I want to pay attention to the direction of the feathers, of course, because it would look a little odd if they weren't going in the correct directions. Well, we had a beautiful day yesterday. Finally, summer seemed to arrive, and then it's a little colder today. And next week, later this week, they're saying it could be a high of 9 degrees. Please, somebody, send us some heat. It was a glorious day yesterday. I went for a nice long bike ride. In fact, I did several bike rides yesterday because it was so glorious. Oh, that's too light. Okay, I'm looking in here and I can see that that's still too light. That value is... This is such a solid chunk of dark that it doesn't look like that in the image. You can see that there's little bits of still too light. Okay, now clean the brush off. I got too much paint on it. Okay, there we go. That's a better value. It's just going down that value scale that I have, that I've created. Okay. I'm just looking down here by the beak. Yeah. Starting next week, I am starting to paint for my annual art show, which is mostly happens in the end of October, just before November, except for this past year. So I'm actually having 2 annual shows in 1 year, because I spent some time with my mom and dad last fall. Hello, Mom. And so I pushed back my show, so this is my second one in the calendar year. But it is I think it's show number 9 since I started painting. When I started to paint, that's what I decided, is I would do an annual show, because it would help me to stay focused and keep moving forward and challenge me. And it certainly has been a challenge. And every time I do a show, I see improvement in my understanding of color and of skill, of my painting skills. So it's very helpful. It's still a little bit too light. Let's get that darker yet. So I haven't started thinking about what I'm painting. I do know the very first thing I start painting is a watercolor. So next week's live stream will be the start of the watercolor paintings, and I'll do those for I don't know how long. I haven't actually set the date to end when I finish watercolor painting. I have a calendar that I write things in, and then I decide the arbitrary date to end one and start the next. And I might flow back and forth between them. I don't know yet. I haven't even thought about it. This past week I was out with a friend, and we went birding. And I had an amazing picture of a Pacific loon. I don't know if they stay here or if they go further north, but I got this amazing, it just gave a beautiful little drive-by, swim by. And so I'm thinking that might make the cut. I can only paint so fast, so I make a long list of what I'd like to paint, and then the reality of time gets in there. Okay, I'm going to step back here, because that's always an important thing to do, is step back and see what you're doing. Okay, and I can see I can add a little bit more lightness to here, just a touch more, just to get that sense of shape in there. Maybe even a little lighter yet. So, how is it in Atikokan, Mom? Okay, that's better. Oh, look at that. Okay, now I'm just going to soften the edge of it with my brush. Just I spent a lot of time doing that, softening the edge. Coming back, stepping forward, doing a little bit more. And softening, softening, softening. So the first watercolor painting I'm going to be doing is actually a commission, and it's sweet peas. So it's going to be probably take a couple of weeks to finish. We'll wait and see. I mean, you know, time will tell. So that'll be the very first thing next week we will see is the sweet peas. I haven't asked the person who's commissioned me to do it if I can hold it for my show so that I have that to show at my show in the fall. Yeah, darkening around. See, it has this little line out and another one here. Interesting. Love the shape of their eyes. Oh, that's lovely. We're supposed to be getting more rain today. We had rain on Tuesday. It's the first time this spring we had rain. So it was better than snow, which we have had when we didn't really want it. Okay. Oh yeah, I'm happy with that. So let's move down. I'm going to bring up the image for the mustaches so I can see them. And I start on the left-hand side and just start to build that up by just pulling and doing short hairs. Okay. Yeah, nice and just even keeled here. Okay. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So I can see that there's a darker area here that the light is not getting into as much. And I've got that nice and just touches the edges and soften between the two. Get some of that white in here and capture where the light is actually falling on this mustache. It's very noticeable that it's lighter right at the top, right here. Take my other brush, just soften the edges of it. You can see that it takes a long time to do these paintings. Even small ones, they just take time. And I spent 3 hours getting it to this point the other night so that I could be ready for today. And I come here and we've got a shape here, and we've got a shape there. I'm going to soften the edge. There we go. There we go. Okay. A little bit more light. I don't know if this is going to be the right color, but I think that I'm going to put it in and see if that will lighten it up a bit and make it stand out a bit more. Yeah. So I just moved to a pale gray to get that little bit brightness to it because the color I've been working with is just too much the same. Okay, clean that off. Check that out. Okay. And a little bit here. I wonder if that would work here. Yeah, there. Oh, that yellowy sunshine color. And capture it up. Just building up. So today we went and saw my son, our youngest son has bought himself a condo, and we went and checked it out, and then we went and picked up paint chips so that we can start to make decisions. And yeah, so he's pretty excited about where he's at. And okay, paint on the brush, clean it off, come in and clean this up and soften that. Again, I'm not sure I'm happy with its position, so I'm going to back up so I can actually see where I want to be at. And we're going to bring some light in here underneath the feathers. And bring a little bit more light and move that in here. When I'm working on a painting, I'm really not thinking about what the space is. I'm looking at the values, I'm looking at the shapes, but I'm not thinking, oh, that's a beak or that's an eye, because that, I think, would the focus then is not on the actual shape that's there, but trying to get the eye perfect and trying to get whatever. And I want to just get that shape. As Bob Ross would say, you know, happy little trees. I'm working for happy little owl. Okay, so I'm going to come in and build this up, and I'm looking back and forth. I'm going to step back and see if it needs to be a little bit deeper, maybe. Oops, lighter. Okay, the shape needs to come down a little bit more. Yeah. There we go. I think. What do you think? Does it look good? Okay. Oops. Put my picture back a little bit so I can see where I'm at. Oh, and I see that all these little dots of value come up into around the edge of its area, that whatever it's called. I'm going to have to go and find out what that area is called. So I'm going to just build some shapes into this. Now the light's not hitting it, so it's not really light. That's too light. There we go. Bring some of that dark. And then come in here and get that shape and get some of those other shapes to compare against. Okay, I'm backing up, I'm looking now in this shape in here. What is in this shape? Do I have it correct yet? And I'm going to darken that. Nope, that has to be darker than that. Oh, darker than that even. Next down little paint piles that I have here. Okay, and pull that out. And now I can use my other brush. Clean it first. This is that Princeton flat Dakota that I use to move the paint. Okay. Okay. And then we have this shape here, and I'm not... Okay, we just need to darken that. Nope, not that dark. That light. It needs to be lighter. Okay. So we have a shape underneath that is a little lighter that I want to accentuate before I put stuff on top of it. And it comes down here and it's lighter, and then it comes right into that mustache right there. And then we've got this shape there. Yeah, when we were out birding on Sunday, we saw all sorts of waders. We're still trying to figure that out. Now I have to remember. I think we saw a stride. Oh, I can't remember their names now. I should have wrote them down to bring down here because I'm still learning them. Definitely saw least ones, the teeny tiny ones. They're the cutest little things. And there were golden plovers that are going through, and they're really, I love their all their patterning on their back. And there was a long-tailed duck, actually a couple of pairs. That was pretty cool. And when I had been there before, there had been a surf scotter there the week before, earlier that week, but they weren't there when I got back on Sunday. They had obviously moved on, and yeah, spring in Yellowknife. It's lovely to be the byway. Well, the animals and stuff go further north. All the birds. Okay, I'm just building this up. Come back, look at it. I think it could be just a touch lighter. What do you think? A little bit lighter? We'll just... Yeah, I think that's a closer value match. I mean, it's in the shade, and it is reflecting a little bit of the blue of the sky, but it's... Oops, got my brush. But I think that this works with the actual... Yeah, okay. I like that. Let's spend a little time on around the shape of the face, on the outside edge of that little parabolic area. We're just going to build it up, and then I'm going to step back and make sure that I've got it building wide enough, because it's fairly wide in one area but not in another, so I need to be careful with that. So this painting will be done for next Thursday, and it will be put on auction. It will be the last painting put on auction until after my show in November. Everything else needs to be ready for my show. So I thought I would do a pink and white peony for a flower, one of the flowers, after I do the sweet peas and get them completed. But one of the challenges with COVID is there's no traveling to take pictures of flowers, and really Yellowknife is not the mecca for a wide range of flowers. So it's getting, yeah, which I find really, interesting. And I was hoping to go to BC and get pictures of the bearded irises because they're so beautiful and they're so fun to paint. But again, not this year. Okay. And we're all feeling the same way. Sometimes you're lucky you live in those places that you can take those pictures and you have access to them. Okay, what do we think of that? I think it's coming here. Just building up slowly, stepping back, looking, thinking about what I'm doing. I actually have another piece of good news. I sold a I didn't sell a painting. The gallery sold a painting this past week and this past month, and so that was a lovely surprise to say come and get a check, and that the person came in and just looked at it and said, I want that. I take that too, which was very exciting. And so the painting that sold is had the two warblers. If you go on my website, dancingravenstudio.ca, and remember to sign up for my newsletter. In behind, anyway, it has two, you can look on the bird section, and there's one with two warblers at a nest, and he has a spider in his beak, and she has some fluff because she's the nest builder and he's the treat provider, I guess is what you would call him. So that has gone to a new home, and that's always exciting. I always appreciate that people fall in love with my work and take it home and want, and it just, yeah, it's very satisfying to have people care that much. Okay, so coming down here. Okay, let's bring that up a little bit. Let's take that. That's a little round, a little flat, wasn't it? So we'll just take some light and we'll move it down and move it down and move it down. And just, now I don't really want it that light, but I'm going to leave it there for right now just to make sure I got the shape right. And I'll darken that up in just a minute with darker. Okay. It's very subtle. Their patterning is so interesting and so subtle. Yeah. Okay, so let's do a lighter value here. We're gonna start to build out. Okay, coming in, stepping back, always stepping back, because you need to get far enough away so you can see what actually is happening in the whole picture. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Let's see, there's this shape here, and then this shape. And, oh, interesting patterns. I love interesting pattern birds. Okay. Bring down, that's darker. That little area underneath the mustache, you want the mustache to be lighter and the area underneath to be darker as it moves away from the mustache. It's out of the light. There we go. Okay, and then we have Bring a little lightness in here. There's just a touch of lightness here. Just soften the edges of everything. So this weekend when I'm teaching, I'm only teaching Saturday. It's a one-day class with the Yellowknife Watercolor Society. They haven't had a teacher in this year because of COVID, and they have a show coming up. So I offered to do a mini class, and the blue jay was the chosen bird out of the options that I gave them. And I should get most of it done tonight. It's just this, with watercolor, you have to work in layers and layers and layers, and we'll talk about that next week. It's kind of like how I work with acrylic, you know, just doing my layers and building up slowly and adding on and adding on and adding on, but just slow and careful so that nowhere am I getting ahead of myself. Watercolor is even worse for that, because it very quickly you can get yourself into being too far in and you can't take it away. It's not like acrylic where I can cover it over and say, oh, that was a mistake, and cover it over. It's pretty permanent. Okay, so I'm happy with this mustache. I want this little darker area, this area that's too light because I was reshaping the mustache, to come and be darkened a little bit now that it's had some time to dry. And then I'll bring in the little dark shapes that I see in there. That gives the interesting patterning. I'm just flicking my eyes back and forth. And just continuing to look, and which I keep saying because that's what I'm doing. And I could go into silent mode and start concentrating, but I think I'll just keep yattering. The next week also I have a painting that I will... Hey, Debbie! Oh, hey, have a great time at the opening. Is this for your show too, Debbie? Are your pieces in that show? I wish I could stop by. Are they doing it live so that, you know, like last time you had a show, Debbie, I was able to come and watch it live, and I had a great time at your when you had a piece in the Crystal somebody gallery. Thanks for stopping by, Debbie. Okay, let's stepping back, coming forward and looking here. And I see this area needs to be a little bit lighter yet. So bring that a little bit of lightness in. Oh, I better, my paint is starting to let me know that it needs a little spritzing. Now we're going to come down here and build that up. That's the thing you miss when you live far away, is all the fabulous openings for amazing artists out there. And Debbie is really, she does these really sweet, really interesting still lifes. And she uses hand grenades in them, and she does, and they're just small little paintings, but they are so amazing. So if you guys can go and find her, because you see the comment there below, if you can go and find her and like her page too and see what she's up to. She's always got shows going because she lives in a place where she can actually do that kind of stuff, and she's okay. So there's a dark area here, and then it sort of lightens up underneath there. So I'm just gonna take that shape and lighten it up and just move that paint around so I can step back and I can see if I'm happy with the darker area shape. Okay, yeah. Oh, there's some really dark areas in there. Almost gray. The brown is so dark. It's almost right to that very bit of gray. So okay. Oh, and I see. I don't want that dark there. That's too dark. Okay. What am I looking at? Oh, I'm looking at this. That's what I'm looking at. And we're just going to put some shapes in there and get that going. Lead into the mustache, and I can see that there's a light area there. More patterning here. So let's see if we can catch that patterning as close as we can. I mean, you know, it is a bird after all. And sometimes horseshoes and hand grenades is close enough. To get your point across. And there, here. And it really is in relation to everything else. Like you look at one area and then you build it up to the next area in relation to what you've already put in place. Always thinking about what's the next step. Okay. Add some of the highlight to here. I don't want it too light. I'm looking here. Oh, I see that. Before I add the light, let's get some dark in here. Because there's this shape here that's quite dark, and I want to make sure that it gets there. Again, that's almost that is so low chroma and so dark that it just goes almost to completely gray. Oops, too light. See, even before I put it on there, that's too light. That's even too light. Okay, darken that shape and just bring it down a little bit more. There. Now I'm going to bring my Princeton Dakota and just touch the edge. Okay, where are we at? Now I'm noticing there's some more light here. So I'm gonna, these tufts are capturing the light from the sun. So I just want to put them in place. Step back and look. And now I'm going to soften the top edges so that it blends in a little bit more. There. And then I'm going to come and I'm going to put some of this feathers. Ooh. Feathers this way. So okay, and there's a little bit of dark in between, I see. Between those two tufts there, I'm just gonna put a little bit of dark in there. Not really dark, just a little darker. Okay. We only have just 20 minutes left already. Boy, this hour goes really quickly, or at least it feels like to me. I don't know about you guys. You're watching paint dry. You might not think it goes as fast as it seems to me. Ooh, I see that. It's interesting because you're working along and all of a sudden you see something you haven't seen and you're like, ah, pay attention to that. Oh, and I see that. It's a little darker right there at the edge of that, between the mustache and the upper part. Okay. Now bring that down into here to capture that shape. There we go. Now we're cooking. See that there is a bit of highlight there, so let's just highlight that, and a little bit here that I'm going to soften out by just taking my brush and just softening that paint up. Okay, a little bit of highlights here. Just take a little bit of highlights there. Okay, and we're going to blend that down. Use my finger to touch it to bring it back up. Okay. Okay. I'm really pleased with how this little owl is coming along. Slowly building up, and I probably will have another 3 or 4 hours work to do on it to get it to where I am ready for it to be at. So that always, and I got to get that all done before Thursday hits, because once I get going on painting for my show, all these kinds of things don't get the attention that they did before. I'm often asked, how many paintings are you going to get done for your show? And I have learned over time just to say as many as will get done, because they always, I always underestimate how long they're going to take. I think they're going to be much faster than they are. And then they're not that fast, and you're left sort of going, oh, okay, that's taking the time that it's taking. So like I said, I start an arbitrary date for ending when I paint with paint and watercolor. And there have been times I've had to abandon a painting. I've had the background done, and it's that day, and I don't know how much longer it's going to take, and I really need to focus in on my birds, so I just abandon it till later. And sometimes I've come and I've finished the birds, And then I'm able to go back, and I've got a few extra days and I'm able to finish the watercolor. And sometimes it's later that I finish it. One of the paintings I'm doing, I'm going to do another great gray owl. Actually, that's for... Oh, no, I'm not doing that. No, one of the paintings I'm doing is a great big snow sculpture. And ravens and interactions with a crane. Hey, Candy. How is it out in southern Ontario? I saw that the kids aren't going to go back to school until September. Not that that probably impacts you as much as it doesn't impact me, but I thought that's pretty hard for the kids to be out for that long. COVID certainly keeps being a moving target for every place. Just keeps shifting and changing on us. And I think as human beings, we find that a little stressful because we like to kind of feel like we have some semblance of control over things and that our plans will come to fruition, and then COVID comes in. I'm not sure it's your crane picture, Mom. Warm and muggy. Well, we were like warm yesterday. Oh my gosh, it was glorious. Okay. So I'm seeing this shape in here, and I'm going to focus in on here. We've got that little bit of light being captured here that I just need to have, and there's more light here. So I'm just going to make that a little bit to get that shape, and then bring that down. I'm going to soften, just soften, soften, soften to get that rounder shape. And then we've got the darkest part that almost, it's so dark that it's like the chroma is so low to get that to that depth of darkness that it's quite amazing. I've been studying Munsell with an artist from the UK, and this week was a class where we just he mixed colors, and I watched, and on Sunday I will spend some time mixing colors. But when I got my Munsell stuff and started to understand it, I'm surprised at how nature is not, well, I mean, some is, what I have been working on is quite subtle. Their color shifts are subtle, their value shifts are subtle, they're more gray than they are the color. And I find that completely fascinating. Hey Cynthia, so nice that you were able to make it. What's the weather like in BC? I'm looking forward to hear your voice someday soon too. So I was really, it's been a real learning curve. And I had not realized that my colors I was choosing to use and mixing were so off base to what actually the birds look like or the water looks like. So that's my goal with the artist, is to get some help with the blue of water and with the greens. Otherwise, the greens I've sort of figured out because I figured them out quite a while ago. But the blues of the water and the reflections, and it's not as chromatic or bright as we think. When we get a picture, the blue is really intense, but if you're standing there and you're looking at the picture and you're looking at the water, you're like, but that's not what I'm seeing. I'm seeing a different color there. And how do I get from where I'm at to where I need to be? So I'm hoping to get some help with that. The artist does still lifes, and they're beautiful pieces, and I've done a couple of them, but I'm not a, I mean, I like still lifes, but I'm not a still life artist. I'm more of a wildlife and flower artist. So the big gift I gave myself was this amazing Munsell book that has all these color tips. I will actually post a picture of it on Facebook after. I'll take a picture of some of the pages and post the exciting book that I was able to get because my last show was so helpful in that way. I was able to help. It just helps me become a better painter and a better way of being able to even see the colors and try to match what I'm seeing with some help. And this book really helps. So I will put a picture up of that right afterwards here, so you can see my fancy, fabulous book that I'm learning so much about. When I was painting Shimmer 2, which is the one with the little grebes on the golden water, I created that blue, and I kind of chuckled because when I took Robert Bateman's class, he talked about Bateman blue, and in the end, that's because that's actually the color of the water, is that kind of blue, and it's so fascinating. I wasn't planning on making Bateman blue. It just happened because that's where the water was. And even here with the sky has a lot of gray in it. It's not super bright blue in this painting, even though sometimes the sky is bright blue, but in the spring and at the time of night it was, because it's just as the sun is going to go down in the next hour. That blue is not really super intense. Like if you look straight up at the sky, as you look straight up, it's really deep blue, and as you go down towards the horizon, it actually, if you squint your eyes, you can start to see that subtle change. Sometimes it goes more greeny color, sometimes. So there's so much to learn. I'll spend the rest of my life painting nature and never really feeling like I've got it mastered. Mostly because I started painting when I was 50. So it's not like I started when I was 14. Though there are days I wish I had. So the time is almost up here. We've got another couple minutes and then I will wind this up. And I always appreciate that you've taken some time to come and watch, and I hope you learned something while I'm doing it, and I'm hoping that I'm passing on some information that could help you if you're a bird painter, or if you're just a bird watcher. That's also fine. I mean, it's fun in my backyard. I've got tree swallows nesting. I've got 3 boxes, but I thought they were, oh, okay. It says my live stream has been, oh, here it's gone back up. Sorry. I guess it just is having a little bit of a challenge there. It is during the day, so lots happens. People are on internet. Okay, bringing that down. Okay. So what time is it? Okay, so we just got a couple more minutes here, and I'll just keep working because I have lots of work to do on this little one. So as I said, next Thursday, this one will go for auction. If you're wanting information about when my live streams are happening and I send an email, I always include a story or pictures or older artwork. And this week's I included images of the first owls one of the owls that I painted, a mama owl that lives down in Louisiana now. She flew the coop and there she is, happy as anything. Anyway, you can go to my website, dancingravenstudio.ca, and right on the very front you can register for my newsletter. And I send it every week, and then I end up including art news as it comes up. Okay, and I include art news, and it just gives you a heads up of what's happening. Mind you, if you're coming here every week, you're gonna find out about it. I did have a piece accepted into a virtual show for the Artists for Conservation. And that's that shimmer, Golden Shimmer 2. So that will be online. It didn't make it into their live show this year, but that's all right. With COVID, artists are at home in their studios, so they're producing. They're not traveling. They're working. And so all of the shows are noticing a real uptake of entries and quality improving, and for the first time, this organization, the Artists for Conservation, they've had only 1 in 5 paintings made it into the show. Made it into the you have to be a signature member. Anyway, made it into the live show. So the competition is quite amazing out there, and I'm looking forward to seeing who got accepted and seeing the catalog that they produce, because it is just amazing. Well, I think we'll stop here. So it looks like I'm kind of doing strange things anyway. Well, thank you for coming today. I really appreciate that you spent some time with me, and the owl is coming along. I will get that finished after I teach on Saturday and get the blue jay finished. And I'll show it to you next week, and then we're on to watercolor, getting ready for my show. Thanks for coming by. Remember to subscribe if you are on YouTube, and if you are on Facebook, like my page, and sign up for my newsletter at Dancing Raven Studio. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.